What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith, and this is episode 501. Let me get that out. Thank you for the correction to start. I got a taste of my own medicine today. I was just telling the guys. I was talking to Brian Baldinger, of all people, on Twitter. I was kind of being a not-so-fun person, and he called me out on it. I did not expect a reply, so thank you for giving me some justice there. Over something stupid, too, but he was talking about the Vikings.
To be fair, you were right.
I was correct.
You were correct.
Now I'm just afraid he's going to come up to me one day like Bobby Boucher with his finger that way and just poke me in the eye. Hey, what's up, man? Kyle West is here.
Hey-o.
Sporting our stuff, man. I meant to put on my Vikings gear, but I was wearing it to the gym today. And boy, let me tell you, people wanted to talk about that game.
Everybody wants to talk about that game.
Oh, yeah. Victory Monday. You can always tell around my parts when the Vikings are doing well because all of a sudden, here come all the folks with their Vikings gear on. And I was at work yesterday. Tried to catch the replay of the game.
See, you get that fun stuff. I leave my house, I get Lions fans going nuts.
Oh, man. As soon as it was over, there were people at the store and they had their Vikings hoodies and everything on. I'm like, oh, we are in the middle of one of those seasons, folks. So, like I said in our private chat, I encourage everyone to enjoy this.
Yeah, this is a special season.
It really is.
Well, Adam Carlson's here, by the way. I didn't give you the proper shout out in, dude. Yeah, it's especially because the roster's changed a little bit. I wouldn't say drastically, but enough pieces were shifted personnel wise. And then you bring in the coach. Obviously, he's the spark plug to make all this change happen. But this is pretty awesome. Haven't felt this way since 2017 and 2009. So we'll see. And technically, which is really weird because I think the defense was better in 2009, but that Mike Zimmer defense of 17, maybe they could have collided in a different world. But man, that was crazy. The 2017 team had a better record than the 2009 team, which was odd. Would have thought that the other team would have won more, but they had some late outdoor games that didn't go so well. But this is one of those seasons. You guys are right. I don't know how the hell they keep winning. I thought this game should have been over 5 times yesterday.
Right.
I was at work, but I watched the whole thing, and I was down in baggage claim at the Charlotte airport, and we're all piled around the one place where they have a TV and like some snacks, and there's like 20 people watching this game. And everyone looks at me, they look at my lanyard, and they're like, oh, he's going to be real upset if they lose.
There were plenty of times the Vikings could have held their head and been like, that's it, or it's over.
Yeah, I told you guys that there were like 4 game-winning moments for either team, probably in the last 4 or 5 minutes or so of that game.
I was texting with my buddy Clint, and he was behind my stream, and so he's like, he was just at the part where Kirk got denied at the goal line, which I'm not positive he got denied, but I mean, he was at that point on that 4th down.
It helps when you got an extra man on the field.
We have so much to talk about this game.
And he's like, well, we lost, and I had just seen the play with Kendricks diving on that botched handoff. Or botched, center to quarterback snap.
Yep.
And it was well, I mean, you're a little behind me is all I wrote.
Well, this is the weird thing. I just had this realization, water is wet, the most obvious thing in the world. But I see why people get so upset when they watch these games, and we invest, like all of us dorks who talk about it for no reason every week. At that moment, I was ready to accept 7-2 3 different times.
Well, I think that we were all ready to accept that heading into the game too.
Into the game, yeah. I mean, technically 4 now, including that, and then
none of us had Minnesota winning this game.
No. And you knew, we all know, because we know how this team operates. We know the whole aura around how this team is forever and ever. They can fight. It just depends on who shows up. And a lot of times in previous years, you go, oh, well, they play up to their competition or down. But they did what they've done this season, but they did it at a different level, which was crazy because there's a lot of stuff in the clutch that they did really well that you're not used to seeing all the time. And there were great performances yesterday. There were some not so good ones. So I guess we can start there, but I hope they don't ride a high like they did in the NFC Championship game.
That has me it has me a little worried.
Heading to Dallas is going to be a big test.
Right, it's not a team that you wanna take lightly. I hope that they don't. Like, I think that the new staff and there's enough veterans on this team who have been there, done that, that I'm thinking they can keep a level head on their shoulders and keep this momentum going.
Yeah, I really think so as well. And I don't know. It's cool because I don't know. This is the stuff you expected last year. All those times you get denied and you just get
How
mad.
does a new head coach rally his team this way? Have so many bought in, so energetic to just keep playing.
Well,
I'm not gonna say anything negative about the ones before, but this dude has to be going up and being like, "You're a superstar. You're gonna do it."
it's all
Visualize it,
because
go
they
do
went
it.
to play mini golf this off season. That's the whole reason. It's the mini golf, guys.
But
I mean,
Kirk
you had
didn't go throw to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
you had a guy elevated off the practice squad yesterday, and he saves the game with a pass breakup for a touchdown. And I've literally never heard of this person before.
Duke Shelley.
I was going to say, was I the only one who was like, "Who the hell is that?"
I remember seeing.
If I
him
didn't write an
activated.
article using his name, I would have no idea who he was.
What was it? Alex Shelley? Isn't that a wrestler?
Duke
Duke?
Yeah.
Shelley.
Charlotte says, "Do you think yesterday's game was a possible Super Bowl preview?" I told. a bunch
I
of
would
my
love
Bills
to
fans-
see that game again in a few months.
I told my Bills fans friends that I said, "Hey, we'll have a rematch in February. Let's do it." I mean, this is assuming that they can overcome the jitters and the pressure of the playoffs and beat the Eagles possibly again in Philadelphia. That's going to be the hardest task.
That's going to be tough.
I see the win excuses have shifted now over to the Eagles. People going to the Eagles wins being like, no, these aren't quality wins.
Oh, look at that. See, this is cool. This is what I want you guys to do every week because Charlotte and Jonathan are always here and they're, ready to go when this show starts. But they're giving away game balls. Charlotte says Duke Shelley gets her game ball. So that's cool.
Yeah, he gets signed. He comes to the team. He has to come in the game when Booth gets hurt, filling in for other corners. Booth filling in for Caleb Evans, filling in for Cameron Dantzler.
We're going down the chain of command pretty quick here. I
mean, 2 years ago, we would have known this game was going to be over for that alone on the injury report. Like,
we would have known this was over when we had Chris Cook.
Oh God,
forgot about Chris Cook.
Still bringing him up, however many years later. That was so bad.
But on that other side, Patrick Peterson. Wow, there's a game ball right there.
I was going to say, there's a lot of ways you could go with game balls on this one. My personal pick was Patrick Peterson. You
could go Eric Kendricks. You could go so many different places.
Justin Jefferson is the obvious one to go with that one, the catch. We'll talk about the catch here in a minute, guys. But no, my game ball is going to go with Patrick Peterson. And you look at how much he means to Kevin O'Connell. I shared the photo with you guys of them embracing and giving him a big hug after the game. And Kevin O'Connell talked in his locker room speech just about how much his veteran presence means.
And would you guys be okay with Patrick Peterson finishing out his career in Minnesota?
Oh, he's going to. Yeah, he's going to.
He seems to want to.
He said he wants to play for another couple seasons, and we know he's declining. He gets a little pissed when you say that, but hey, he's still Patrick Peterson.
Right.
You can keep a roster spot for him for the next couple years. You draft smart, you bring some rookies, you let him mentor them, and you keep him in there because he will find ways to win you football games in clutch situations like this.
Well, the other part of that, too, is you got to think, I don't think it's a surprise that Cameron Dantzler was drafted, 3 years ago? And since Patrick Peterson's got here, we've seen him climb. Now, I'm not saying he's the main sole majority reason, but I'm sure he would tell you, I'm in that guy's ear every day because he's playing opposite of him. Like, that's your cornerback number 2. Do I think that necessarily he's the best corner 2? No.
Another game ball that we were probably not going to pick is Dalvin Cook. I mean, he may not have had a consistently good carries, but he had that one electric carry at a time when the team needed to change the momentum of the game, and it was big.
Crazy. I'm looking here, long of 81, 119 yards total and a touchdown. The average is 8.5 because of a long run, but you got to think outside of that, there's 40 yards on 13 carries. That's not very impressive, but I mean, we'll take it. I'll take that any day of the week, an easy score to catch back up. And that they needed that really bad because at one point the team is down, 14?
And they got some ham on the ground.
They sure did. 1 for 3 and a touchdown, baby.
Hawkinson became a target later in the game in the second half, and they started being able to move the chains on third and fourth downs using him. So, I mean, you can question the capital they gave up to get him all you want, but if Kirk's comfortable with him and they can find success and be able to continue drives, that's what's important.
I'm going to go against the grain here for mine, but I'm going to give a game ball to Kirk Cousins. I think this is outside of the New Orleans game. I think, yeah.
He had that one interception was really bad. The other I don't think was his fault.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Somebody said it the greatest way I've seen it on Twitter is like, I guess his brain just like reset for a play because that was really bad. But outside of that, I can handle that. You know, a dumb interception that happened a lot with Matt Stafford last year, and I'm mentioning him because Kevin O'Connell came from the Rams. But good God, on 4th and 19, the throw to Jefferson, which credit to him. He just made some really good throws. The throw to the 2-yard line to Jefferson in overtime, the initial touchdown to Jefferson. I mean, dude, he's making these plays, and people they don't give him credit at all. Max Kellerman was talking out of his ass today, yet again about him, and I'm like, what's going to happen? What I hope happens is he goes and wins a Super Bowl, and then he could just throw his ring finger up every time, like, I don't care what you said, I got one of these. That would be awesome.
I mean, it's a good game to give Kirk a game ball too, because he had his ups and downs, but he persevered. And when we needed him the most, he showed up. And that's kind of been a knock on Kirk is that, well, he can pad his stats and this, that, and the other thing. Can he win you a game? Kirk put the ball in some places for his receivers that were really tough, tight windows. And yeah, you're throwing to Justin Jefferson, who made some incredible catches on one of those final drives for the team.
To me, there are two choices for donkeys.
I'm going
Ed Ingram is the easy choice.
Yeah, I'm going with Ed Ingram.
And I also think KJ Osborne is the easy choice. When he gets 11 targets, only ends up with like 40 yards.
Yeah.
I don't know why he was throwing there so much. It's like Minnesota maybe should consider investing in a new wide receiver here again soon.
Well,
I think so too, because I feel like Adam Thielen, he's healthy this year, thank God. But if he falls out, you're relying on the tight end and the wide receiver 3. And we said this in the offseason, mainly myself. Hey, look, I'm not telling you to replace him now, but there's no reason you can't go in the 2nd or the 3rd and find a really good stud to possibly replace him. I mean, more weapons are always
Ingram's mindset right now is that he needs to get that left foot planted at an angle, and when he takes that step back, he's stepping back way too far because he's been getting beaten pass protection by these big defensive tackles.
They need to get that fixed, like AS.
Ingram he's good in run support. He's a good run blocker, but the pass blocking just ain't there.
I mean, I'm definitely not ready to give up on him because I can see the potential in him being he can be a good player for the Vikings. He's having a rookie season with some rookie moments right now where he's got a lot to learn. But
we also could have gotten a game ball to Blake Brandel, who came in replacing Christian Darrisaw and played very well.
Yeah,
I actually was gonna do that because he did. I have some stats here somewhere that I screenshotted earlier for him. Let me see if I still got it.
I also wanted to point out, since you point out Ed Ingram, the right guard, how I thought the season was going to be us bitching about Bradbury again, and he's like quietly like top 10 center in the league, close to it.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Blake Brandel played 39 snaps, and Pro Football Focus gave him an 80.2 overall on pass block.
Dang.
So there you go. We've talked a lot on this podcast about raising the quality of backups on this team because there have been so many years where your starter goes down and there is no depth underneath it. This is refreshing to have your starter go down and you've got someone who can step in and perform at a high level and not be an immediate like, oh, that's the reason why we lost the game because our left tackle went down, or we're down 2 or 3 corners and we still got guys stepping up and playing good for this team. That's what's refreshing about this Vikings team, I think.
Before we get into the good, because I want to talk about the Jefferson catch, and then we can talk about defensive stuff, how this implicates everything. We got a 3-game home stretch the Vikings are going to have. We're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the negatives, because I'm going to do this every time until it gets fixed, which is never. So you're going to hear this a lot from me as long as we keep doing the show. My donkey goes to referees who can't do their fucking job. Do your job. I don't care how fast the game is. And if the system is broken, fix the system. Don't blame the referees. Cool. But 12 men on the field is unacceptable. And that wasn't a catch. When the NFL admits after games that they keep messing up, there has to be a system to make this accountable. And
there was one Viking season where they lost a lot of games and they just kept getting those letters.
I remember that. Who was the coach? Was that Frazier?
Zimmer.
Leslie Frazier was the head coach then, I think.
Possibly. It was either that or Mr. Pringles.
Cool.
Here we go. Wes says, I'm not going to be able to jump through a table like I planned.
Did you see the video of the Vikings fan trying to jump through the table? Table doesn't break.
Yeah, it's that Ryan Rohde guy. He runs the Skull Bros page.
Oh, I didn't know who it was.
That's definitely him. That's hilarious.
No, as for the referees, Smith, some of the other missed calls, whatever. But the 12 men on the field, like not just in the huddle, but like we allowed the referees allowed the Bills defense to run a play with 12 men on the field in a very pivotal goal line situation, and no one caught it.
Well, it's just a thing. The whole point of that being like, okay, this went in our favor, so we can kind of sort of overlook it. But if that's literally like a game ending or game altering thing, and that's not acceptable. And the thing I can't stand is they just send you a letter. It's like, hey, dude, screw your letter. People need to be fined or fired, just like you would do for the players. You know, if they go out and drop in all these obscenities and F-bombs on live air or radio or whatever, you would send them a letter and fine them. If they have an illegal hit, you fine them, you suspend them for something. Do it for the refs, man. I bet you they'll start getting it together, because I'm not one of those guys that wears a tinfoil hat to be like, oh, the NFL's rigged, blah, blah, because too many people have money on the line for that. But when you consistently admit that you messed up, at what point do you go, we have to make some changes? That's what I can't stand, because other times the Vikings have been on the bad end of this, and you just have to deal with it. Like, I shouldn't have to deal with your incompetence. I'm trying to, and the other part of that too for the players, like, what if it's an injury that puts you out on a play that shouldn't have happened? You know, little stuff like that you can go down the rabbit hole on, but I don't like that. We've seen a bunch of it this year, and across the league, they need to be better, and they need to hold them accountable. So referees, I see you. I don't like it.
Jonathan has a question in here about Joseph missing an extra point this week, and that was a big motivator in the difference in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Are we comfortable with the Vikings finishing out the season with him?
I guess they don't really have a choice.
Well,
I mean, you could bring in somebody else, but we're going into week 11?
Yeah.
At this point, I don't think.
Unless there's a major drop off, I just say you roll with him. Because like the majority of the time, he's pretty reliable, but
right.
A couple little patterns here and there. But overall, I like the special teams unit as a whole. I think whoever they brought in for the coach, I don't remember his name right off the top of my head, but special teams has done a nice little turnaround. But got to remember,
year, you're probably maybe looking for another kicker, but I think you can finish the season out with the unit we have. Although it is a concern, and you do maybe want to play more for. Well,
Minnesota did bring in a kicker to compete with him this offseason, but got rid of him very, very early in the offseason, or in the training camp. So there wasn't really a competition.
Yeah.
Wes asks, how does the Gabe Davis catch not get reviewed either?
That's exactly what Smith was just talking about.
That's my point, and I get it. Inside 2 minutes, you can't throw the challenge, but when Dean Blandino is out there saying this should have been reviewed and it moved, I mean, what do you do there? Yeah, you have to step in, because they're all like, well, we want to keep the game going. If anything, keep the game going for an extra 2 minutes. You have people viewing it on the edge of their seat. We understand it's about ratings. I understand that. But yeah, that wasn't a catch.
It's the league seems to have forgotten or haven't got the memo. Like, we all have 65-inch HD TV sets, and there's a million camera angles that we can immediately see these plays in slow motion.
Well, there were also 2 moments during this game where plays were reviewed and could not be overturned. They just stood. And to me, that's interesting that in today's ability with all these cameras, there aren't like microchips in footballs to know, okay, this football bounced off the ground.
Exactly. That same thing. You could put stuff in gloves. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and I think they'll get there eventually. But that's weird. But what I was saying about Joseph too, and I'm not trying to backtrack or go years behind, but I think they brought him in last year because the year before he was on the Tampa Bay practice squad. This guy was a practice squad kicker. He's got it in his bio that he's a Super Bowl champion. I'm like, did you have any stats from that year? Like, I didn't remember hearing your name down there. I was like, oh, he was on the practice squad. I was like, so you guys got to remember, we elevated a guy who was a backup. So overall, he's doing pretty damn good. But yeah, he's missed a couple extra points at not so good times, and he definitely lost like 2 games for us last year. But that doesn't matter now.
So you're looking at Joseph drafting a kicker, or maybe just a priority undrafted free agent?
Well, in an alternate universe, Daniel Carlson never left, and we were A-okay.
Since we're not doing the whole Spielman, we got to have 11 draft picks per class thing anymore. I'm okay with like if you have a kicker that you believe in, just draft him. Just draft the guy. Like what? You're gonna miss out on drafting Chaz Surratt later on. Like who cares? Take a guy who's gonna help your team.
That's your emergency 6th quarterback option, Kyle.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Who were they talking about yesterday? Was it last night?
Yeah. We need to draft this player that's very athletic, but we have no idea what we're gonna do with him.
And we're not gonna develop him at all for anything. Just like, well, we got this potential here.
We can barely develop our first round picks, but we
got
try
30 project players.
You know what's crazy to Kyle West? You'll love this. I was watching the Charger game last night because if you guys have followed us for any amount of time and you know a little bit about our personal lives, my brother loved Phillip Rivers. He stayed with the Chargers. He's a Charger fan. And he says, their injuries are awful. And I feel really bad for Justin Herbert because he's been in the league as long as Justin Jefferson and he's never had a winning record. So, not at any point in these last 3 years. But I think the crazy part is they were talking about elevating people last night, and I think we were talking about needing more people to be active on game day. I'm like, dude, we talked about this on the show.
I've been on that for years now.
Why not? Why would you not?
There is no downside.
Because they said last night, Herbert got a nasty shot to the head. He might be in concussion protocol this week. And Chase Daniel comes in, whatever. If Chase Daniel gets hurt, they said we're going to the emergency option. It shouldn't go that far. Like, I remember, you guys remember this more than I do. Remember back in the day, they'd have like 4 quarterbacks on the roster.
You can't
do that now, but at least have 3 ready to go. Like, is your oh god, the shit hit the fan option. But yeah, that was crazy. It was I thought about that last night. I was like, oh, we can talk about that tomorrow with West. But Charlotte, you're gonna go play?
Games just aren't as interesting as backups. So I mean, you saw the backups in the Rams and Arizona game.
Ugh.
That game was brutal.
When they make a meme about your quarterback starting, it's probably not a good thing. But yeah, let's talk about it. Yesterday had some iconic moments. I want to start before the game. It made me happy. It made all of the Viking fans happy to see it. I saw it. I posted on my Instagram story.
You're talking about Stephon Diggs' great snag?
Well, eventually getting to that. He's warming up. We see him doing his dance. He's got his headphones in, and Kirk approaches, and his face lights up, and they hug, and he says, "What's up?" And I was like, that's the stuff I want to see. That's what I want to see right there.
Yep.
And they were very nice throughout the week. The 3 of them, Kirk, Justin, and Stephon, talking about obviously what happened. So he was, as much as you can do the filler non-answers, Stephon Diggs was pretty cool because I watched his press conference. He was like, "Look, I didn't have any vendetta against anyone there." He's like, "I was looking for a different situation," and I think some of that has to do with the coaching and the game plan and the scheme, which we all figured out. That's probably why.
I think most of it was coaching. I do think there's been an unfair narrative that was painted probably by some former Vikings general managers that, Diggs probably wanted out because of Cousins, and maybe some coaches had something to do with that as well too. But, he just wanted
the Diggs Justin Jefferson jersey swap.
Yeah, he just wanted to run a modern NFL offense.
He wanted to be wide receiver 1, but he wanted to be wide receiver 1 in a pass happy team, and I don't blame him for maybe wanting a bigger arm quarterback or a coach who was going to be like, no, we're going to throw it like 40 times a game. You're going to be the dude.
Yeah.
He knew that wasn't the plan with Zimmer being here, and I think that was coming right off of the 2019 play. They won a playoff game. So you're assuming in your head Zimmer gets a contract extension.
A Zimmer offense is always going to be run first.
Of course. But you're thinking to that point is we just won a playoff game. Coach gets extended. He's like, we're going to keep running the ball. Like, I want to go somewhere where I can shine.
And more power to him. He bet on himself, and he's one of the top receivers in the league. And I like Stephon Diggs. And
I'm salty that he left, and I'm salty.
And Minnesota was able to get good compensation as far as picks.
Correct.
And they got lucky with those picks.
They did.
Yeah, it all worked out. I was just salty because he's a 5th-round pick. I love the story. I love the attitude. The dude's not that big, but he plays like he's like a very lean, more modern version for me for like Steve Smith. Maybe he's not as gritty. But man, he believes in himself. And I'm like, I like the attitude this kid has because he's just like, no, I'm the best dude on the field, like always. I was like, cool. I can see that. But I love that him and Justin Jefferson were asked about each other by their media or whatever, and they're just had like nothing bad to say, which was really nice.
Why would they? Like, what would? Yeah.
Well, I'm glad there's not a beef, mate, because like you know how it was on Twitter. Like the fans go at each other, like, "Oh, Diggs is better."
Well, you won't get the same kind of stuff when you talk to Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, because those two guys will go at each other a little bit.
They're also probably, former teammates, probably still pretty close friends, so they can dig at one another like that. And
they know each other like that, huh?
Yeah. Yep. That's the vibe I get out of that one.
To Adam's point, when we were talking about Diggs made the catch yesterday, one hand, it was beautiful.
Oh boy.
He was wide open too, which is something I kind of figured was going to happen yesterday. Either you put him man to man against a Caleb Evans, or
the fact he had one glove on that ball and was able to reel it in was amazing.
Or you get a mismatch like what happened yesterday, not with Diggs necessarily, but with I think it was number 6. Who were the short guy who was running a million miles an hour? He was awesome. Putting him on a linebacker, terrible mismatch for us. But Diggs had a great catch yesterday, and he had 128 yards. I mean, 12 catches, 128 yards. Yeah, he's still very, very good. Happy for him. I'm sure they're going to make it to, at minimum for me, I think the championship game in their conference. So
I don't know their division right now. Miami's winning their division, I believe.
They are. I'm not sure how.
And the Jets are right there I believe they have the same record as the Bills right now. The Jets do.
They do. I think the Jets are winning the division. No, Miami, and then them, and then the Bills, which is crazy. I don't know if Tua stays healthy enough to do that. That's my only worry for them. He's already been out once. We see how bad they dropped off. Luckily, we got to play them without him, but we'll see. That's a good division. Worst team still has a 500 record. They're coming to Minnesota in 2 weeks. We'll see them. We'll see New England on Thanksgiving evening, so that'll be fun to watch. But and this game was so back and forth. I have it here for the play-by-play. I'm going to do the scoring plays here just because it's a lot easier. There was a big lull there for the Vikings, but good first drive as usual. Justin Jefferson gets a touchdown, and then the Bills go on a little run. Devin Singletary gets his first 2 rushing touchdowns of the year, which is kind of annoying. They kick a field goal in the second quarter. Greg Joseph kicks a field goal.
Dalvin Tomlinson out for this game, I believe.
Oh, that's right. James Lynch was filling in. And then another touchdown right before the half. So it's 24-10. And at one point here, field goal, down 17 after the third quarter was about to come to an end. I think the stat that they put up yesterday was that the Bills haven't lost a game when they were up by 17 since like 1968, which is
that was crazy,
unreal.
Yeah.
Who never would have thought this would be the team to do that, but that's pretty crazy. And then the fourth quarter was crazy. 2 touchdowns from the Vikings, a field goal to tie it with 39 seconds left, and then a field goal wins it for us, even though the INT actually ended the game by Patrick Peterson. But yeah, this is a crazy, crazy game. Diggs came out to play. Kirk had a little mistake, but so did Josh Allen. They both had a 1 touchdown and 2 picks. So
Hawkinson's stat line turned out all right.
Yeah, he's turning out to be quite a nice little asset. I'm glad that they picked him
the
up.
yardage numbers aren't insane, but
What does he
and
have?
he's still contributing.
7
Well,
out of
he'll
10 for
continue to
45.
grow into this offense, and
The yardage he got was either setting up manageable third downs or converting them. So
What was really frustrating too, if we want to complain about the refs a little more, because I always will, is he gets called for offensive pass interference, which okay, and then there's a clear like jersey hug that could have been a touchdown for him. It doesn't get called. I hate that that's kind of wishy-washy and like, you want to say let him play, but I think it was the same drive too. You're like,
it was back-to-back plays.
So he can't get one.
You just want consistency.
Of course, yeah. Running down the stats real quick for this game, real easy.
Why so many targets for Osborne?
I don't know. It's 11 targets.
So, Adam, real quick before we do stats, question for you. Jalen Reagor, do we need to get him more involved out there on offense? Like you said, we're a little disappointed with KJ Osborne. We've got number 5 out there. They haven't really worked packages in for him much lately. What do you think?
He could help take the top off defenses. I mean, he's got that speed.
Yeah.
Can I agree with both of you and disagree at the same time? I like the idea of getting him involved, but I also I know last year doesn't count, but I've seen KJ Osborne win the game at least twice in the last couple of years. Like,
sure.
Well, this game, a ball dropped right through his arms into an interception.
That's fine. I'm okay with him having a bad game. I don't think it's time to like give up on him.
He was not getting results this game, and they kept throwing to him.
I'm definitely not saying give up on him, but maybe we can see a little bit more of a rotation out there.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's weird because we traded for Jalen Reagor before the season started, correct?
Right before, right?
I'm not 100% sure when that happened.
Remember.
I feel like we did. I'll look it up. But yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, why not? It's not gonna.
But I mean, they had some packages for him earlier in the season where we gave the ball to him on an end around and he looked decent.
Yeah, he scored on that.
He scored on that, and then he's just kind of faded back to special teams. And I'm sure maybe that was the plan all along, was to draft him just for special teams. But you have another receiver who's struggling a little bit, so I guess I don't see the harm in maybe giving him a little bit more of a look out there on offense.
August 31st. So yeah, right before the season started. Yeah. So he should be pretty well versed.
Fucking
in there.
TJ Hawkinson learned the offense in 4 days. You ought to know what's going on.
I expect him to get a touchdown, and not only on special teams, but I expect him to get a touchdown in the offense at some point. I think you're right, man. I thought I'd see him a little more than this, but
I thought we'd see a little bit more from Wongwu. After 2 touchdowns last year on kickoff returns, this year has not been his year for that.
He was another guy that I thought maybe they would have more of a package, more of a role for on offense. But to the team's credit, maybe that's a good thing because they just kind of recognized Justin Jefferson is really good.
Well, they're going to have him and Ty Chandler next year when Alexander Madison likely gets signed somewhere else.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. Hopefully we trade Cook and we figure that stable out. I'm on the train now. I'm on the train so much.
We can talk about sorry to interrupt, but we can talk about packages and getting this player involved and that player involved. But at the end of the day, get it to 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to work pretty well. So
or I don't know. Kirk Jackson's been out there on the field the last 2 weeks running around. I mean, I see this guy.
Yeah, he was second in team rushing, wasn't he?
Yeah, 6 attempts for 12 yards.
That's awesome.
And a long of 15.
Kirko.
His longest run doesn't equal. He had less yards than his longest run. That's so funny.
He doesn't want to, but the occasional run that you get out of him, it's okay. It's positive yardage.
I know there was at least one play last year. I'm like, dude, you could have ran for the first down. I mean, he did it in the game last week or the week before. He gets a touchdown and then
Kirkovic.
So funny. Yeah, this game had everything you wanted. I highly suggest if you guys go back, NFL, after the day settles and the dust clears, they usually post that night or a couple hours later the highlights of the game. It's a 20-minute highlight of a game, which is not. I've seen them before where they're like 6 minutes long. So this is
so is this win, better than Favre to Lewis in the back of the end zone, 2009? I believe that was against the 49ers. Is this which win do you guys think is better? More
I
more
think
fun.
this team is better than that Niners team. But I'll say this: I think that the way that they won that game was more exciting because it was like pretty much a walk-off touchdown, just about.
Yeah. It's
'Cause
also Favre.
it's also Favre, and it was also one of those like that shouldn't have happened plays because you're like, who caught the ball?
Who the hell is Greg Lewis?
Who the hell is that guy? But this game, I won't say an interception to seal the game was underwhelming because once Patrick Peterson ran out of the end zone with that, I was like, oh my god, the game's over. But
Well, and that catch by Jefferson,
it's so
that
stupid,
I mean
unreal.
that's gonna go down as one of the top 2 or 3 in Vikings history. Like that's right up there with
Well,
the
let's
miracle
be a little
catch.
honest here. I don't think any of us really believe that he caught the ball out of the air. He was just able to muscle it away from the defender who was catching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were
you're
3
right.
hands on it, and you're thinking the probability here as it's happening. You're like, oh shit. Hopefully it's just an incomplete.
I can't believe
pass.
he was able to get that ball out of his hands.
You know, part of me wants to say the Diggs catch was probably a better catch because it was clean.
Right.
That was just Stefan going up and I'm gonna palm that ball and bring it down. But for Jefferson to, like you said, to muscle it away from the defender and like it to come down and not get overruled somehow, like not have a flag thrown or whatever, like that was pretty phenomenal.
Well, can we also say, like, I saw it last night, they were comparing, and then one of the Instagram pages I had showed that catch and then the OBJ catch. I think it's more impressive
catch.
because of the stakes. Because this is the game right here.
Yeah,
You
that was
gotta
fourth
catch
down.
it.
He did not reel that in. That's game.
That's
Yeah.
game. And
That's pretty fucking
and
clutch.
if you want to get technical about it, because one of my buddies likes to give me a hard time because he knows I'm biting my nails watching these games every week. He's like, yeah, the OBJ catch was better and it was more athletic and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, the defender did also pull him, if you could see. So he kind of helped him get to the right spot to get that ball.
Well, and
That was the OBJ catch.
He had a defender in front of
Jefferson-
him and behind him.
Right. And let's not forget here, he comes down with that play on fourth down to keep the drive going, and then comes back with like 2 more catches.
That throw and catch right there at the goal line, like the 2-yard line, was was unreal. Like Kirk was on fire.
Really
Kirk got
good.
hit yesterday, and he threw to the left to Jefferson, and I was like, holy, threw it out of bounds, and then I was like, holy shit, he came in with that ball. Like, I like
nice,
the confidence,
you know.
man.
It's nice because I'm a little shell-shocked as a Vikings fan for over the years. It's like, oh, we have Adrian Peterson and he's the best running back in the league.
Yep.
And then when it matters the most, he's going to fumble the ball like 4 times for us. It's kind of nice that Jefferson is like, hey, we need you right now. And he put the team on his back, him and Kirk, in that drive. And they came up with some big-time moments for us. It's nice to see the Vikings finally show up when we need them.
Jake's got a good point. What's crazy too is the Diggs drive before I had the catch of the year. Yeah, and I think up to this point, until another great game happens, which could, still about halfway through the season, is this is the game of the year. This is all Vikings bias aside. This is back and forth. This is exactly what the NFL wants. They want score after score, overtime, drama. There's a history there. This is the game of the year so far, and
you know what? This counts to me as a primetime game, primetime Kirk, because you looked at the coverage map. Most of the U.S. got this game.
Everybody but me got it.
Yeah, everyone except for Adam.
It was on my NFL fantasy. Like, they have 2 games they feature at 1, at 4, and then obviously they'll show you the Sunday night game. This was one, and I'm in Charlotte, guys. I'm nowhere near Buffalo or Minnesota, and that was the first one that they had for everyone. I was like, oh my god, I get to watch this ad-free, interruption, like not third party. This is wonderful. So
next week is the second game, I believe, on CBS against Dallas.
Yeah.
See, it'd be on CBS?
Yes.
Oh, that's weird. I thought CBS had the AFC.
I don't know, I'm just saying what I saw.
PBS.
And it's an interesting point, though. Adam brings up the Dallas game. The Vikings are not favored in that game right now.
That's fine.
I think it's because of the 3 points for home field advantage.
Sure.
Wait.
I don't get too worked up over that kind of stuff anymore. Like,
which Minnesota is still, are we undefeated at home.
Are we going to?
I believe Minnesota is heading to the Cowboys.
This is a home game. There's a 3-game home stretch. Yeah, they're definitely. Yeah, it's definitely 3-game home stretch.
Oh,
Cowboys, and then we have the Pats on Thanksgiving primetime, so that'll be great.
then the
And
Jets right after
the
that.
Jets, man, that's going to be a tough little stretch. I do have confidence, though, not looking ahead at all, but I do have confidence because if the Bears can beat the Patriots in New England, we should have a game plan to figure that out. Let's see. Cut to the Dallas Green Bay. I know that was such a disappointment. Green Bay getting a win. I wanted to see 6 losses in a row.
I wasn't sure who I wanted to win that game because I know Dallas is kind of creeping up there in their wins, and they're getting talked about as contenders to come out of the NFC right now. They actually have better odds to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl right now than Minnesota.
Let's see. I want to look at their schedule too because I know they have to play the Eagles again. Poor Cooper Rush had to take the helm. I think they'd have a little different time with Dak playing the Eagles, but they'll go. Oh, it'll be home. Oh my gosh, that's a Christmas Eve game. Definitely watch that. 4:25. They will be hosting the Eagles. That's definitely a game the Eagles could lose. That's good. We're all rooting for the Eagles to lose so we can get the 1 seed. That's awesome. I just want to see them come to Minnesota. If they're that good, they can win on the road. They deserve it. But Philly's a tough place to play.
You got to dodge those batteries.
Oh my God! And
you got Millie. You got to keep Millie safe.
Threats to the children of away fans. Okay.
And Santa Claus, because I know Philly hates Santa Claus.
Good job, Philadelphia. Way to be model humans.
Here we go. I agree with Wes here. We'll get Cook involved in the game early, get some Madison out there against Dallas.
I think the reason Buffalo ran the ball so much earlier on is because there was that small amount of snow earlier in the broadcast.
Did you like the way the announcers were like terrified to call it snow? They went out of their way to call it anything other than snow.
Oh no!
Calling it, what'd they say? Fall weather and flurry mix, and I'm like, guys, it's snowing. Why can't you just say it's snowing?
And I know it's such a bro frat move, but I love that all the Minnesota players are out there in like short sleeves, like this ain't shit. Adam Thielen's just out there warming up like he's in a summer, like for training camp. So funny.
I don't know. That'll still be one of my favorite Vikings memories is Bud Grant walking out there in like minus 20-degree weather with just short sleeves on. Bud Grant don't care.
No.
Adam, you're right. It is CBS. I was under the impression that Fox did the NFC always, but that means you get Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, I believe. Of course they do. It's a Dallas game. Semi-prime time this Sunday. It's 4:25 p.m.
Aren't Buck and Aikman prime time now?
Are they? Oh, God, I got to see who's calling this game then. That's good news for me. I'm not a fan of Troy Aikman.
I don't want to listen to Troy Aikman. Joe Buck, I'm okay with Joe Buck these days, but Troy Aikman can.
He's not my favorite, but if I have to pick one or the other, I just don't want to hear it. Oh, Romo and Nance. That's so good. I love me some Tony Romo. That's good. 4:25 Eastern. So you have to wait a little while. Man.
Yeah, Buck and Aikman's Monday Night Football now.
Let's see. That's funny. I'm on ESPN looking at the Dallas roster, like seeing when they played Philly against Minnesota. They'll show the tickets. Right now, that's the highest ticket prices for any game that they have of an opponent left. $202 as low as 2 weeks later versus Indianapolis in Dallas as low as $25.
Oh boy.
Next week in Dallas versus Houston, $45. Oh, that's funny. Those teams are not good. Although Jeff Saturday did win a game after talking crap about the Raiders on Twitter like a week before. That is very hilarious.
I like it. I like Jeff Saturday experiment. It's insane, and that's just the kind of stuff that makes the sport fun.
Well, I love his press conference. He's like, look, if I suck, whatever, I'll be out of here in a couple weeks. But
did you see him on the Pat McAfee show?
I didn't see him on McAfee's. I figured McAfee would have him in there just because
you
it's
have to
Colts.
listen to it. McAfee cut an amazing promo about sports media where he called everyone in major sports media puppets who are getting fed shit from like NFL owners. He called out who was the left tackle for the Cleveland Browns?
Oh, Joe Thomas.
Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
He called him out for talking shit about Jeff Saturday and then pulled up a clip from like 2 years ago where Thomas was like, yeah, I'd love to coach the Cleveland Browns if given the opportunity. That's some good shit. I like that.
That is good because Joe Thomas is a golden child and he's done pretty much nothing.
So how much longer until Matt Khalil coaches the Vikings?
Oh, God.
Oh, don't even say it.
I don't want it.
Ryan Khalil has a new podcast. If you guys haven't given it a listen.
Is it good?
I won't.
Why? Ryan Khalil is pretty good.
Yeah, he was solid.
I'm good. I'm good without that. I'll take the highlights from you, though, Adam. I appreciate that.
It's always interesting hearing an offensive lineman's perspective.
Was he on the Super Bowl Panthers team?
I am not 100% sure. I want to say yes.
I would assume so.
I think so. It's the same time frame. Let's look it up. Ryan Khalil, because we're a Minnesota Vikings podcast. We're going to talk about Ryan Khalil today.
It's all about the Khalils.
Oh, American film and television producer and former NFL center. Wow. I thought I got the wrong page. Apparently not. Nice.
Ryan Khalil is Matt Khalil's brother.
Correct. I was like, did I spell his name wrong? I guess I did. Oh, yeah. He was a part of the Super Bowl 50 Panthers team. Nice. So at least he's been there to Super Bowl. He's a Pro Bowler. It's pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah, Anyways. He was quite good at what he did. But yeah, I mean, I still haven't really gotten to listen to Patrick Peterson's podcast. I've heard that's pretty amazing.
I want to. It'd probably be something cool to cover in the offseason. I'm just taking in all the stuff from the season as it is now, but just
as much as I enjoy talking to you guys, I don't listen to a lot of other podcasts.
That's fair. It's mostly like on the drive to work. I need stimulation. Hate fuel.
See, I don't have a drive to work, which that leads me to watch a lot of Netflix and Hulu and, Twitch, which I could spend my Twitch time watching podcasts.
Clifford's in here. That's right, man. Who would have thought?
1.
8-1.
That's what I always said.
Got a good ring to it.
At the beginning of the show is that enjoy it.
Like, this is how I know Cliff's younger than me. He types in LFG, and to me, that's still looking for group.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Destiny 2 has
got to run that dungeon,
Yeah, you got a LFG. So yeah, that's still what it means to me too, Adam. But no, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, 8-1. This is really a season that I hope Vikings fans are enjoying. Because these don't come around too often, and we're not even guaranteed that it's going to be like this next year. Guess what? It probably won't be. That's just the laws of football. Like, you don't get this all of the time. So there's a lot of fans that are, oh, well, we haven't played too good of a teams in the schedule, and oh, we got lucky. Maybe, but we're still 8-1, and this is going to be a season that we'll be talking about, just like 09, for a while to come.
Well, let's be a little honest here too, because the win over Buffalo kind of cements that Minnesota will be a playoff team. It would take an epic collapse for Minnesota to miss the playoffs at this point.
Right. Which could happen.
We've seen it
either.
Well, here's the thing. This is what I'll say for where we're at in the season now, and just based on what we've seen, because everybody's like, the Patriots were always the best September or terrible September team. Great November, December, right? Kansas City is always a great September team. They always have a weird loss every year. We're going into week 11. Do I think this team can go to the playoffs? Yeah, I think they're going to win their division. They're going to host a playoff game. It's to be determined whether the Eagles fumble a little bit and a formula gets figured out where we could possibly get the 1 seed. I think yesterday they showed that if they play the way they're supposed to play, they can beat pretty much anybody. I think it's the weirdest year of football I've seen in a long time, because there's been a lot of bad football and some
which
weird
is why
teams.
It's our year.
100%. That's what gives me hope to say,
yeah,
I don't know that they can win a Super Bowl. I think that they can. I think a lot of things would have to go right, and you have to have some more lucky moments. I think they can get there. There's a long road ahead to that, but
is there a wild card team that you really would not want to see the Minnesota Vikings face off against?
San Francisco.
I was thinking the 49ers. I don't really want to play the 49ers. I really
And that's
don't
exactly
want to play
who they're slotted to play right now.
Or the Eagles. I
Um,
want to play the Eagles again.
They're going to have to play the Eagles if they want to go to the Super Bowl. That's inevitable. But I just don't like the style and the matchup. They just have gargantuan mutants over there running on both sides of the line,
Yeah.
and I hate that. But
Although, didn't Christian McCaffrey just get hurt?
I don't know if he did
I
last
thought I
night or
seen
not.
I'm more afraid of San Francisco's defense than their offense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it
'Cause
would work for us at
Keeping
home.
Kirk upright against that group is not pretty.
That's true, Wes. That is a good one. It'd be interesting to see too if let's say they go into they would play right now. Let's just say it as it was today. They would play the 49ers. At some point, they may have to play Tom Brady. That would be interesting if they beat the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very interesting.
I was watching, and I don't remember which analyst it was, talking about how everything's all set up now for Tom Brady to sneak in and end up taking on Jimmy Garoppolo to go to the Super Bowl.
That'd be interesting. I'd root for the 49ers at that point if we were already eliminated. Tom, you've won everything so many times. I kind of hate you now. So, yeah, I don't want to face Tom in the playoffs too, but this team is just so dysfunctional. His personal life has definitely taken a toll on him this year, for sure. It's so evident. And he's calling out his teammates. He's like, we just don't play like we care. Like, I thought everybody came to Tampa because they do care. Because
how does Tampa have all those receivers and it's just like not working? They got strong runners.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. And they got high quality offensive linemen.
It's weird. It's that hangover, man. They win the Super Bowl, they go to the playoffs, they lose. Now it's like they'll get in the playoffs, they'll probably win the South, but they're not going to be that good. It's crazy how it turns around in 2 years.
Yeah, the one thing we don't want to see now is the Vikings players getting too big-headed about big wins, and this win in particular, because we've seen it before that after the Vikings have had big wins that they've really struggled to put the next team away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be a big test for this team to see, what the leadership is going to do. It works in our advantage again that we have 3 home games after a big win like this instead of having to go on the road. So I like the fact that we got Dallas at home.
There is a very good chance of them to be 11-1 coming out of this stretch. The problem is you're due for a loss when you keep winning this many in a row.
It's going to be something stupid.
All these teams have winning records.
The Lions.
All these teams have winning records. So
yeah.
Now, do I think the Vikings are a better team? Sure, but they have different qualities I don't like Dallas. CeeDee Lamb and what's the other guys? Gallup. Not the best 1-2 punch, but they're there. Their running game's still very good. If Zeke comes back, you have Pollard and Zeke Elliott, but their defense is really good. So that might frustrate the offense. It's Bill Belichick. I've seen him do crazy things to every team all the time that week. And then the Jets. I mean, they put a hurting on Green Bay, and their defense seems to be very, very good.
Sauce Gardner,
that's so good. That's going to be a matchup for
him matching up with
year.
Justin Jefferson is going to be a marquee match for that week. And the Jets beat the Bills as well too, so you can't sleep on them.
You see, Sauce Gardner has his own sauce now at Buffalo Wild Wings.
I love that. I love that.
That's awesome.
What quarterback do you fear most in the NFC playoffs? Jalen Hurts. That RPO has been the death.
Watching him tear Minnesota's defense up is so scary.
Well, look at yesterday. It's the AFC, but that's a bigger bodied Jalen Hurts. Big arm, can run everywhere. I don't like the guys that can run. How do you defend it? it's so hard to defend. And that's the thing, like credit to Nick Sirianni and everybody, their GM over there is a genius. They played into that. They're like, what do you do well? This, we're going to go all in and push the house on what you do well. And they're killing it right now. But I don't know. I think they can be figured out. I also think they beat us in week 2 at their home opener. I think that had a lot to do with it. But that's just the confidence of winning 7 after that. I don't know.
So now do we look at this Vikings hire of Kevin O'Connell and say, boy, this guy's going to be here for about a decade now?
I don't give him a decade.
I'd say
It's too early for that.
right now. I mean, middle of the season, the way things are looking, yeah. we know how fast things can change in the NFL, but right now, yeah, we're it's looking like a pretty darn good hire who's going to be here for a good long time.
I want to see Kwesi's magic. I'm not worried about Kevin O'Connell at all. I think he's a young coach. I think he's going to be around a while, and the way he talks and connects with people is great. But I want to see more of Kwesi's crazy trades. I
would have been really interested to see what kind of playing time Lewis Cine was going to get if he would have stayed healthy. Like, what would he be doing right now for this team?
Well, let's take another second to talk about this Vikings defense, because Ed Donatel has this Vikings defense set up with the shell to not give up the deep big play and to tackle underneath. And instead, this Vikings team is getting takeaways at an alarming rate.
It's crazy.
And it's not really what this scheme is engineered to do.
Well, Patrick Peterson said in his postgame that he was like, yeah, I studied the tape. I knew the route they were running. I pushed my guy off and just jumped the route. So that's a little bit of he freelanced out there a little bit, it sounds like. And the one thing that maybe we're getting the benefit of that we didn't get underneath Mike Zimmer did not let anyone freelance at all.
No.
You ran his system. And I still think, man, you got a Patrick Peterson out there on defense. If he can jump a route, by all means, go for it. Like, why would you yell at him and not let him do that? That's why he's on this team. Maybe that's the difference.
He's got a chip on his shoulder this year, too. I mean, he came in that Cardinals game looking for blood. I mean, he was so pissed at that. I mean, he's calling out the owner and shit. Like,
he took another shot. He took another shot at Arizona in his post-game presser, too.
They must have did him really dirty. I got to look further into that because
apparently Hicks was absolutely cutting the team down in the locker room before the game.
Who?
Hicks, the linebacker from Minnesota.
Yeah.
From Arizona.
Yeah.
Fuck him. I don't care.
Over on Vikings Reddit, there was some discussion about, when Patrick Peterson retires, do you think he's going to go back to Arizona, or do you think he's going to kind of stick around the Vikings, maybe help out, coaching?
I don't see him going back to Arizona.
That's the consensus seems to pretty much be. He's not going back to Arizona, and he's going to retire probably in purple. And when he goes into Hall of Fame, probably.
Especially if this team goes to the Super Bowl or somehow they break the curse and win it. Hell no. Absolutely not. Because they'll go farther than they did. He wasn't on the Kurt Warner team. He came in 2011? So he wasn't on that team. So he has besides just longevity there, he doesn't have anything tied him there. So why not? Dude, come in here, go to the Super Bowl and
he played the bulk of his career that's going to get him in the Hall of Fame in Arizona. So obviously that counts for something too. But
yeah, so 4 takeaways from Minnesota in this game. Wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah.
I can't believe that they botched the snap and we got a touchdown there. That never happens.
Did you see Kendricks diving through that tiny hole?
Dude, it's
the replay. You look and you're like, how did he get through there?
And it's funny too, because they went through explaining it, because you have to, when it's something that dramatic in the game, they're going to talk about it. And they're like, we have to pull people off, and whoever has the ball, that's what happened. Like, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's what they say when, you hear the war stories in the interviews, like the off interviews. They're like, yeah, man, people do some dirty shit underneath that pile to get the football. Like, you're like gouging people's eyes out and pinching skin.
Oh yeah, the horror stories are pretty crazy.
Bill Romanowski, like the stories that came out about Bill Romanowski for just being a notoriously dirty player and doing all of that shit are wild if you've never read some of the shit that he's done, and he admits to it too. He's like, "Yeah, I did
Oh,
it."
sure.
Yeah.
Especially if it's that far removed. It's like Tom Brady being like, the tug rule.
So it's a
Might
good
have
time
been
to be a
fumbled.
Vikings fan right now. Got another tough game coming up. Should be an interesting watch. We'll be back to talk about that one next week. We always enjoy the conversation and chat. Thanks to everyone who stopped in, said anything. It's always cool to interact with you guys. It makes the show so much more interesting. You can check out my work over on the Viking Age. I just published this morning my 7 takeaways from this game against Buffalo. And yeah, I mean, I might have said a few things that I probably shouldn't have, but I was, still a bit in shock from that game. Still, I even sitting here right now, I don't exactly know 100% what to say about it. But maybe it'll come to me in a few days. I don't know. But thanks again to both Kyles for joining me. And we'll be back to talk about that game against the Cowboys. So in the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.